Hello, everyone, and welcome to another lifting episode. This is the intro we are placing in the episode for Toraph Moses today. I wanted to explain a little bit before you hear the interview that we've done about a little bit about the Toraph people and how I encounter them. He will explain the rest of the information in this interview. But the Torah people, when I first came across them, this is actually on my end how I saw them. I saw sometimes a little bit transparent in the energy where I could see their insides and this golden light emanating in and around them. They're from a very high density. They are from beyond what we consider to be, good and evil. But if they are intimidated by, not as intimidated, but if they are pushed by some other race like the Orions or something like that, they'll push back. But they don't. They're more pacifistic. They're not fighters. They're not warriors. They originate in the Boots constellation. And Moses mentions their planet in his presentation. The memory escapes me at the moment, but they also, some of them traveled down into Agartha, where they also reside. If you saw one of them, they remind me of almost like an Oscar statue. It's where they're golden. And they also have a particular energy harmonic where when they're here on the earth, they tend to make ripples and waves that tend to change certain events to a more positive timeline. Like say, if you have here's a good example where if you have like almost like an apocalyptic timeline where a certain event is supposed to take place, if they introduce their coding, it tends to level that to where if there's a certain universal event that's supposed to still take place, or like a watershed event, people like to call it, or a fixed event in temporal history, it will still take place, but with a more muted version of it, or more of a choice-oriented version, such as like say if there was like a war or something that's going to take place, or a battle or something like that. 9/11 is a good example of this, where some things were muted down from what the cabal wanted to do. There's a certain harmonic that will level this to where there's still something that's a watershed event, but it's less of an impact negatively, if that makes any sense, or overage wise, if that makes any sense. When I first encountered them, they're very kind people. I encountered one by the name of LaRoche. You will see the images of him later on. But the way I saw their energy, like I said, it was very weird, where I could see through them, and it was like they were transparent. And there are other species. I want to make a clarification. There are a couple other species out there that have like a similar look that are not them, that you can see through them. You can see their brain, heart, organs, all this other stuff. And you can see through them. Those are a slightly different species. Those are closer to our density. There's a couple of them out there that are like that. But the Toraph are way up the scale as far as extremely hyper advanced, to where their perceptions are far vastly different than our own.
So as Moses tells, his story and his experiences, and he'll may refer to it kind of as his awakening consciousness, but it's something similar that really everyone goes through their journey. And if they choose to want to have the experiences of this journey, or, understand more about beings, let's say, / guides, different people around them, or remembrances of different past lives and different experience. The wonderful thing about, this journey that he has is he is also a beautiful illustrator. So he can then bring to life some of these visions and different things that he is seeing, and is so appreciative. So we had done the interview with him, and then we're actually coming back to do a slightly different introduction to it, because there's a lot of editing that will have to be done. This was a very difficult.
Yeah, there was a lot of interference.
A lot of interference in this. So it's going to take Chris a bit to put it all together. So I think once it's all together, you guys will really enjoy this conversation that we have with Moses. And so in general, just as kind of an opening blessing, we are so thrilled and we feel so humbled with anyone who watches this video today. We send much warm and healing energies to you. I'm sure the Toraph do as well, as they're also a part of this. And we just want you to open your minds to the greatness of really who you are. You're so much more than you could ever imagine. And may this help inspire you in your days to come to feel confident with your journey and confident with yourself and your experiences. So much love to you guys. And we'll just go ahead and cut to our conversation with Moses. And we really hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, so thank you for watching this, folks. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. We have a special guest today. This is Toraph Moses. He does a great deal of graphic art and spiritual cleansings, healings, and channelings. So Moses, you can take it from here.
Okay, hi. Hello, Lifting family. I'm so excited to be here, and I do apologize if there's any interferences in terms of glitches, in terms of sound and image quality. Nonetheless, we are protected in many, many ways, so I'm very excited to be here, as mentioned.
Go ahead, Moses, if you wanted to actually
Okay.
show off your artwork, if you'd like to. Everybody, he does some amazing artwork of many species that are around the galaxy, many species we've channeled, he's channeled. I would highly recommend commissioning him for any artwork of any kind, because if you have a that requires it.
Thank you. So I'm actually a novice in terms of the mediumship. However, my spiritual journey and life path stems 20 years ago. So before we go into my art, let me just give a brief introduction of myself.
Oh, sure. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, so I had an epiphany after surviving a near-death experience. I am a burn survivor and a near-death experiencer. My family house was burned down 20 years ago in 2000, a little over 20, maybe 25 years ago now. And that event changed my entire life and outlook on life. I struggled post-fire for about 10 years with self-identity, depression, a lot of career, career endeavors where I was lost. I was trying multiple career fields, but it didn't go anywhere. It didn't pan out. I don't regret it, because life is about taking risks and challenges. And all of the industries that I worked in made me have more experience in terms of the 3D workforce. But long story short, I would have to say that my actual spiritual awakening started in 2010. I was researching all sorts of spiritual paranormal activity and dealt in more in the mystic arts in terms of learning about shamanism, Wicca, as well as even the darker occults such as Satanism, because all of those things attracted me. And as I began to uncover my true potential and my true identity, learning about other extraterrestrial races, interdimensional races throughout from 2010 all the way up to the current 2021 has allowed me to explore myself in terms of taking the time to do meditations. And that started during the lockdowns. So because I couldn't afford Chris to do any more readings for me, I went inward and I found the answers by looking inside myself, the soul, for getting answers with this pandemic crisis, as well as all of my past encumbrances, traumas, childhood traumas, current traumas, resolving it, acknowledging it, releasing it, transmuting, transcended beyond human comprehension. And I am beginning to understand in this current now moment that this current expression, Torah of Moses, is a culmination of all the millions of expressions that I had throughout walking on this planet for millions of years and coming together, reconciling, auditing all of our expressions. Some were malevolent, some were benevolent, and sometimes more malevolent than positive, mind you. And I have been able to recall many past lives. One recent prior to my current existence was a Kazakhstan shaman. She was also recruited by the Cabal, and I'll go into it with my presentation with my illustrations. And she also became a dark magician in the Cabal, a very powerful one. And then she left the Cabal and she became an exorcist or demon hunter. I also had a recall of another past life during the time of Jesus and another past life during the ancient Atlantis and Numerian time, who was a Mayan high priestess. Yeah, so my guides comprises of my family that had recently passed away. That includes my mother. She's come to find out she's an ancient Mayan Federation crew member, as well as my nephew in this 3D paradigm. As mentioned, I think I left off with my nephew. From this current paradigm, he passed away in the house fire back in 2000, and I found out back in February of 2020, I had a channeling of another Toraph being by the name of Toraph Geo. Yes, it's a pseudonym, but the Toraph, they don't really have a name that we could pronounce. It's mostly sound and light. So that type of harmonics of sound frequency and light. So his name that he is calling himself is Toraph Geo. He's approximately 12 to 13 years old in this illustration. When he came to this world, he died at age 4 due to the house fire, and I learned that it was him because I started probing questions like, who are you? And how do you know me? So he told me that he was my nephew, and it really broke my heart because a lot of surface memories came out of it in terms of how Akatash, my oversoul, his mom, how she volunteered and why she volunteered. Her story is so unique, it'd probably take an hour to talk about it, but I do have a posting of it on my YouTube channel, Toraph Moses, and it explains the Toraphs. So it's a compilation of the positive and negative entities that I encountered. This is Toraph Geo, Toraph Akatash's father, and I was introduced to him via Christopher Stephen Jacobs. He channeled the Toraph, and we learned a little bit about my background, and that opened up the Pandora's box in terms of inspiring me to find out what the fuck is all of this going on with our lives and the lives of everyone else. We are our own galactic being, whether we like to know it or not, but when you get to find out, it's a magical, magical journey. So that's Toraph LaRoche, and this is me. This is Toraph Akatash. So I had I didn't really know how to draw myself, literally. So I was utilizing my energies and past life memories and genetic memories of how the Toraph would look, as well as combining Chris's intel of how he perceived them. And then I just incorporated in terms of how their physiology, their phenotype is very similar to a Homo sapien in terms of body structure and upright position. So she's very long and lanky. They are definitely transparent, so they're partially light and energy, as well as physical. You can see their translucent body, some of their biological functions. Their functions differ from ours. I've learned that they don't really need to eat. They feed off the energy of the sun, as well as they could absorb other biological material and absorb it and take it as nutrients. This illustration illustrates Toraph Geo's birth cycle. So this is him as a baby. This is a tree, and what they do is the planet gives birth. The name of the planet I discovered is planet Cadenum, constellation Boots Hercules, and this tree illustrates that they gestate inside the tree, and when the tree is ready to birth it, the tree literally opens up like a pod, and these are some vents here where the energies are filtering in and out, and that's how they're birthed. The birthing process doesn't have to be a tree. It could be a rock, like a boulder, or it could be underground. It could be water. They're one with the elements, literally. So let's go to the next. This is Celestine. She's an ancient Mayan Federation crew member, although she doesn't want to admit it. She has some, not beef, but she has reservations about the Federation, as well as Captain Kachanak has his own idea and perception of the Federation. We'll get up to him. But she's actually my mom in this current vehicle, Toraph Moses. My mother was Filipino, but I learned through Christopher during his Patreon post that the Mayans seeded many of the Polynesians, Micronesians, such as Samoans, Tongas, Fijians, as well as New Zealand, Australia, and then they had an interracial or intergalactic relationship with the Untungans, which is an Asiatic-looking extraterrestrial. But they also could be interdimensional because they do have that capability. But they're mostly stellar beings. And the Mayans are stellar beings. And my mom was actually a sister of my past life during the ancient times of Atlantis and Lemuria. And she was the sister of the High Priestess. And they worked together to inform about the disasters that the impending disasters that was supposed to happen, and it did happen in terms of the flood. But the flood, it wasn't only a flood, it was earthquakes and other meteorological disasters that contributed, as well as scalar technology, similar technology, and a lot of their cultures, where we are kind of like a cousin to all of their cultures, customs, as well as technology, and we just have a refurbished part of it in the current now moment. A lot of the technology from Atlantis are still hidden, and the military industrial complex has a lot of it in terms of the actual technology. But that's another story that will take 10 hours to talk, but we'll keep it moving.
Yeah, a lot of these are very, very good. I've seen these very beings myself, and yeah, it's pretty much dead on the mark what they look like.
Yeah. So this is Captain Kachanak, and Christopher and I were so excited to meet him. I met him through my mom, Celestine. She mentioned him. A lot of these characters were, I wasn't even aware that I was channeling them. I was just doing artwork for Christopher for his YouTube channel. This banner represents the mothership in the background, and in the foreground we have Captain Kachanak in his tribal attire. During the Atlantis times, this illustration depicts him as a shaman or a high-ranking priest, and he was Luminigeti was my past life. She was a subordinate to him, and FYI, they had a fling together, although he does not want to admit it, but I'm just throwing it out there. So this illustration here is a depiction of the smaller ships, not the motherships, but the smaller fleet of ships that left Atlantis and Lemuria. This is actually Lemuria in the background. So this is the time during the flood. The flood waters were increasing or and the ships were ready to leave. So this illustrates that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually. That's exactly the type of thing I saw right there when they were leaving like that. Yeah, yeah.
So this piece here, I was doing some fan art for the 80s cartoon Thundercats, and I just threw in a xenomorph because I love xenomorphs. So I hear the lion-looking being he's actually a guide of mine. I discovered him back in winter 2020, and his name is Ilornish. He's a feline Lyran being. He's a guide that I encountered back in ancient times of Atlantis and Lemuria. He lived in Egypt. He was a politician, but he did dabble in the occult, and he has vast knowledge. Actually, I did a mini presentation on sex and magic on my YouTube channel. It's a 2-hour presentation of ancient Atlantis sexuality and magic, from bestiality, pedophilia, transhumanism, homosexuality, bisexuality. And FYI, during the times of ancient Atlantis and Lemuria, there was no classification category of sexuality. Majority of the humans back in those times were bisexual. However, the feline races and other ETs were not bisexual.
Yeah, they did say in a recording I did not too long ago that certain traits they learned from humans too, over the course of history as well.
So this being here, her name is, but I cannot pronounce her name, is O/CC Swine, something like that. So I just nickname her Is. And come to find out, this being I channeled in spring of 2021, during my time in a coma for about 3 months during the early 2000s. I was traveling around Agartha, and I have a lot of ties with Agartha. So this being here was a being that I encountered, and she was one of the sentry guards or people that places spirits inside cryo chambers. But these cryo chambers are crystalline in construction, so they look like pods, but they're made of crystal. So a being will go inside to recover. So during that time I was there, I had a lot of lucid dreaming, and it also impacted my physical, because we're tethered and connected. So whatever I dreamed in my astral form, I also would be able to download it, but I wasn't able to recover it until this last 2 years. So this being, I remember her as a shadowy figure. I thought she was tall, but this being is so small. She's like less than a foot or 2 feet, I think. And she's so cute. And she's on the cephalopod, like a squid being, but she's evolved. She's a hybrid, but I believe, I can't remember the origins. I don't know if it's Orion or if it's Syrian. She's saying Syrian Moses. Okay, sorry. So her background is Syrian, but we can't go too much into it. But she's a fairy, because I think during the Orion Wars, Time Wars, a lot of interdimensional beings had to migrate to different parts of the different quadrants of space. So she intentionally came to the Milky Way galaxy, surpassing the Van Allen belt, and she managed to stay in Mars. So she jumped to different planetoids within our solar system. And then her people evolved, mixing with other DNA. She was used by the Orions, and they, how do you call it? Modified.
Genetically engineered. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. They re-engineered them, but then she lived with the Fae. She managed to live with a colony of Fae, and then her people just became Fae. And it's a very long, convoluted story. And sorry if I'm rushing.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That's interesting. I haven't encountered that species yet. Yeah.
Okay. So this is my grandfather in this paradigm. He died in early 2000 due to complications of health. I'm just going to go briefly into it, because the reason why I have him here, because it's hard to talk about it. When I was age of 5 and as a toddler, I recall him molesting me during those times, and probably even earlier in my early childhood. So Christopher and I was able to extract him from limbo and move him into the perceived afterlife. However, from my own understanding and from my guide's perspective, there really isn't no limbo or perceived afterlife, because it's all astral. Even our paradigm, the 3D matrix, is also astral, but it's more of a physical, collective consciousness, holographic society. Long story short, this being is a Lumerian. He's a tribal elder, and he does exist in the pocket universe of Lumeria. And then, Chris, you did mention that in your own posts. So with that synchronicity and that corroborates perfectly. So we forgave each other, and then when he revealed himself to me, this is what he said he looked like. He's very handsome. He looks very Polynesian, more in the Samoan type of thing in terms of phenotype.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and also Joanna hasn't heard this yet. Yeah, the continent of Mu exists in its own little pocket universe, and it or like they would say we would say a copy, but they said that's not accurate. It's just a divergent. They just kept going from where the disaster took place.
Yeah.
And in our reality, it was where the ship's leaving. So
yeah, it's a physical space. It's very similar to ours. However, it's not perceived with the average Homo sapiens eyes, because it's a different vibration, it's a different frequency, and you have to be a vibrational match to perceive and live in that physical, tangible reality. So this being here is Sharon Aidfield, and of course this is very recognizable because this is one of Christopher's newest banners for his shows. So he is a Mount Shasta tribe Sasquatch or forest person, and he's a teenager. He was present during my expedition and adventure out in Mount Shasta, California back in spring of 2019. Just to give an overview, I ran away from my human problems here in New York, and to be honest with you, I had a premonition that something horrible was going to happen, and I had to leave New York. So I sold all my shit, and I went to Mount Shasta with small luggage and the clothing on my back, and this being here and his tribesmen were there to protect me. They did get the call from Christopher. I found out that they were in communication with Christopher, vice versa, and this being here helped clear out an attack while I was in the Mount Shasta Amtrak station. A Yeti from Mount Shasta attempted to attack me, and he did enter the space inside the Amtrak station. He entered my space, and I felt him. I wasn't able to see him at that time, but I did felt him. And according to Sharon Aidfield, he and his people removed that being from my space, and then I fled. And I recently communicated with Sharon Aidfield back in winter of 2020. This being here, we're getting into the regressive, negative side of my experiences. So a lot of the negative artwork was basically before my full realization and my awareness of my spiritual powers and psychic abilities, which is pretty recent. But I remember drawing or creating this being just out of a whim. I was just doing it. And this is actually a fire djinn. So, according to Christopher, our first reading session, the fire djinn are these small imp-looking type of creatures. However, how I perceived it, it looked like a piranha head. It had a piranha head with piranha teeth, and and kind of like an infant-looking stature. And it was on fire. And during the time of the fire, I remember that the fire was actually moving in a very sentient way. It was moving around like it was conscious, it was alive. and it was blockading against the doors and the windows. And me and my nephew were trying to evacuate the space. We tried to go, and we did attempt to get my mother and my father, my stepfather, but my sister wasn't there and my brother wasn't present. So we led our family out, and we tried to open the door, but the fire gyms were blocking it, and we had to go back upstairs. Yeah, so that's the fire gym, those bastards. But I come to find out through Christopher and then recently that Toraph said that they were summoned. That is true, yes, to Chris, but they were summoned by people that we have encountered, and it was black magic. It was a combination of black magic from another source as well as Kabbalist magic. So the Kabbalah has been trying to terminate every expression of mine for millions of years, but they can't kill Akatash. They're beyond her reach in terms of harm, but they can harm and murder our physical human expressions if we allow.
I just want to ask a question because the face part of that fire gym that you were just showing. I don't know if you could back it up and put it back on that screen, but it's an interesting thing because it's also what I think people have reported as a sort of almost like an actual fish-like being that is found in the skulls of people.
Yeah, I found them in the skulls of people, and sometimes I also found a water type moving on their property in England once. That was like a water version of that had like where the fire is, there was like this weird watery, like the water around it was sentient. It was like it was the same exact thing, but just blue, and it was something very similar. And it was a type of sprite. That's how the guy there.
Yeah, they can change and alter their pigmentation. Most fish races have that ability to change colors in terms of their pigmentation. So this being at its most aggressive. So this hue represents its most aggressive position. The blue ones, I haven't encountered the blue ones, but according to my higher self, that's what this represents.
I just want to ask a question of you guys because this figure, the face part of that fire gem that you were just showing, I don't know if you can back it up and put it back on that screen, but it's an interesting thing because it's also what I think people have reported as a similar look of almost like a tadpole fish-like being that is found in the skulls of people.
Yeah, I found them in the skulls of people, and sometimes I also found a water type too that somebody had on their property in England once. That was like a water version of that had like where the fire is, there was like this weird watery, like the water around it was sentient. It was like that. It was the same exact thing, but just blue, and it was something very similar, and it was a type of sprite. That's how the guy there identified them, like sprites. But
they can change and alter their pigmentation. Most fish races have that ability to change colors in terms of their pigmentation. So this being at its most aggressive. So this hue represents its most aggressive position. The blue ones, I haven't encountered the blue ones, but according to my higher self, that's what this represents.
So it's interesting to me because, you brought up the Cabal, you brought up the conjuring of them, you brought up all of that, which I believe a lot of this goes on to actually, control people. And if you could open up the heads of certain people in certain positions, you would find something similar inside, I mean, that is helping to control their behaviors.
Yeah, you would find this I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher did a wonderful job with, I think 2 years ago. He did a presentation on Jinn and demons, and you basically, we corroborate in terms of that intel. Just to go ahead, so this, another Jinn is the Jinn, the common Jinn that people encounter in terms of the shadowy looking Jinn. But this illustration I did on a train before I had my awakening. And I was just drawing and doodling it. And this, as I look at it now and rediscover it, this is the actual Jinn that people encounter during their sleep time or awake. So this is how they look in terms of when they're smoky and misty. So this is a very unique drawing because I was commissioned back in early 2000 to do a logo for an entertainment company. So if this guy is watching it, your illustration is on my on this presentation. But this wasn't the one he got. He got something else. So this is an actual Jinn, and it's kind of like in between physical and astral.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen ones like that before. That other one you had too, there was an incident in Illinois at my father's one time where I ran into, there was this being that I saw a shadow moving through the hallway, and he has a cat. So the cat chased it out of the house and just kind of stood on the back of a chair as this thing went through the window, and just kind of looked back at me. It was kind of going like that, like
Yeah.
proud that she had chased it out of the house, but
Yeah. So this is another depiction of a Jinn. This was back in 2015, 2016. I was in college at that time. And I was one of those people that would just draw while they lecture. So this is what I sketched during those lectures. And it has, if you look closely, there's 3 eyes or multiple eyes. So it's like moving around because the way it's the smoke and mist, it kind of like morphs them like a psychedelic. So this is what I was capturing, that in between physical and astral or etheric. I don't like to talk about this being, but I'm going to talk about it. I encountered this being during the Russian Victorian period. A Kazakhstan past life of mine, her name was Anna Natso. She was a shaman. She was raised as a shaman. Her grandfather was a shaman, but there were during those times, during the late 1800, early 19th century, women were not allowed to be shamans. So, according to her tribe, she was acknowledged as a shaman, but outside of the tribe, she wasn't. Long story short, she was bought and sold, kind of tricked and manipulated to be sold off to the cabal. Unbeknownst to her people, they didn't allow it, so they kidnapped her. So it was a combination of both. They took the money anyway, but they decided not to let her go, but they ended up kidnapping her. So from Kazakhstan to Russia, she was raped in between that time. She was around 13, 14 around that time. And when she finally made it to the cabal in Russia, they groomed her, the dark magicians groomed her and she was selected because she had the power of manifestation, instant manifestation. During her time as a shaman, she would heal ley lines and heal the land, bless the land, and she would allow things to grow and flourish. The cabal utilized her talents in an inverted way. So instead of her healing, she would use it to harm others, right? So she had the power to, with the help of the dark magicians, to open portals, interdimensional portals. And she would allow certain entities through the sex magic ritual and other sacrificial rituals that involve a culmination of negative regressive energy, sexual energy, to charge up, and then she would harness that power, those energies, and open up a portal. So she was one of many kids that were groomed to do this, and she led a team of children to open portals. So every kid had a different function, and they contributed based on their abilities or attributes. and the head dark magician would be the ones delegating this. So they're the ones who would conjure and call on a specific entity. So what I was saying is that she was able to release and bring forth an archdemon by the name of Asmodeus Asmodai. According to Christopher's post, we learned that he's actually a jinn. So he could be perceived as a jinn, a devil, or an archdemon. It's all one and the same.
Did you want to share screen again? Because right now we see you, but not the share screen.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
You're fine. It's being a pain in the butt.
You're
today,
fine.
So, yeah.
I just figured, I know you had more pictures. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
So
that's right.
So this is Asmodeus, and long story short, Anaxel, my past life, she was able to entrap him using ingredients of frankincense and myrrh, iron, pieces of iron or chunk of iron. Oh shit, Christopher, help me out. I'm having a mind block. What else?
Oh, yeah, it's right here actually.
Oh, amber.
Yeah.
Amber, yeah, and amber. So,
Yeah.
and then she was able to trap him, but it's not a matter of just a device because it's just a tool, right? So she had to do an incantation. So she had the spoken word language. So her language that she spoke in was Russian. Maybe one day I'll have a recall of the actual incantation, but it's basically, if I was to translate it in the now, demon, I lock you in this entrapment, and you are forever banished, and that's something similar to that. Okay, so we're gonna keep on moving.
Okay.
So this being here, this is the demon lord or reptilian lord known as Moloch. He is very well known in the occult, specifically satanic worship and ritual. He was used as a sacrificial god. So I encountered this during a past life during the ancient times of Jesus. His name was Homariel. I'm butchering his name right now. He's laughing, which is me, but convoluted. So during that time of Jesus, there were many types of reptilians. However, this specific being, he didn't have direct contact with. However, he did seen it, and he did witness a lot of sacrifices. So just a little FYI, contrary to popular belief, during the times of Jesus, and this may contradict a lot of beliefs, but there was high technology, very similar to the ancient Atlantis and Lemuria. They did have during those times, because our historical recorded history differs from the galactic history. It's even further back. It might cut off, but we'll just keep on rolling. So what I'm trying to get at is that a lot of these entities were jumping within the Van Halen belt, Milky Way galaxy, into other quadrants of space. So during Homariel's time, they were able to go to different planetoids within the Milky Way galaxy, such as Venus, Mars, and that's how they were able to encounter various regressive beings, such as Moloch.
Yeah, that was one of his forms. He had another one too that had kind of like a partially human reptilian look too, where he could morph down, fold down into. Yeah. They could morph. They could definitely morph. These are called the Manticons, according to Christopher. However, this is not the actual depiction. This is a similarity. I have sketches of it, but I chose not to show it. For this one, I did this back in 2014, 2015 for a school project, but it's interesting because they have the actual shape of the manta ray wings and the human structure. What I encountered was an infant. This one is the adult. They were not blue, they were brown. However, like most fish races and cephalopod types of races, or merfolk, they tend to change their pigmentation based on their mood, as well as the energy shifts or fluctuations, ebbs and flows of energy.
So this being here is Ananaxel, the Russian Victorian shaman, Kabbalist, dark magician, and exorcist. She became an exorcist. She left the Cabal. Not many people could leave the Cabal, but she just left the Cabal. Of course, she was targeted, although she didn't admit it, but she was targeted. But her magic and her powers allowed her to elude all of their attacks. So these are one of the dark magicians that I mentioned. So this is a lower tier of the dark magician. These are the human versions, and there's an interdimensional version. I'll get to that one. So as you see here, they have these cloaks and symbols with the pentagram. It was not a nice time during that past life, but she learned a lot. So I wouldn't say that benevolency and malevolency is something to be for and against, because that's what we're conditioned to believe. It's about the human expressions to experience all facets of sensations and emotions, and whether it's benevolent, for and against, good versus evil, it's an experience that we as humans is why we come and volunteer. But there's many reasons to volunteer. Okay, so this is very interesting. So I had a recall of this being while I was channeling my past life self. So this is I don't like to talk about this being either. This is one of the highest dark magicians, and they're not even human, they're extraterrestrial, they're interdimensional. However, the difference is they are using skin suits. So this being here is a hybrid. It has a clone body of another extraterrestrial. However, it's been deformed and modified or enhanced to hold the vessel, because that type of energy or vibration, so specific bodies have to be fabricated, engineered to host these types of entities. I found that very interesting because, you know, you would automatically think that they come in with their physical regular self, but no, when they come to a perceived paradigm such as a 3D holographic society, they still have to have a certain vehicle in order to have it. So that vehicle has to be a vibrational match to that being, is what I'm trying to convey. So that's a portal there that they come through. And then this is how they look. They look very distorted. So like in Japan animation, there's this no face. So that's very popular with anime and anime characters, or Japan animation characters, the no face. So when I looked into it, Toraph shared that they didn't have a face. It was more mutilated looking or almost like non-existent. So this is how their face looked.
I've seen that before myself, you know, where things that don't have faces like that. You see that in history where some beings are depicted without faces. You know, we could also say it's one of like the faceless ones. You know, we've been saying that about spindly looking beings where they have no face. And I believe, yeah, that's one of the sources of that. Yeah.
So this being here was a spider being. It's a hybrid between an artificial intelligence, a spider, a gigantic kaiju type spider, and a reptilian. So this is kind of an abstract look to it, but very close. These beings are huge. So his height is similar to the size of a mountain. So I encountered him during Mount Shasta's expedition. And while I was en route to Mount Shasta, there was a dampening field, according to Christopher, as well as psychic attacks. I was having anxiety, high anxiety, fear beyond comprehension, like something was about to kill me. And then when I got to Mount Shasta, it was a severe psychic attack. And after leaving that region, while on the train, I sketched it. And of course, Chris got the original look, but this is more of a developed look. And so I'm just going to show you segments of it, where there's the human top is kind of like you see his face embedded in the stone. And this is how that has a cyclops eye, it has one eye, has multiple spider legs. But the thing about it is that it's astral, etheric, as well as physical, but it's not 100%. It's kind of like, it's not perceived with the naked human eye. If like Christopher and I can see it, we were able to see it on our end during your time that you shared on YouTube when you went out there, and you found out firsthand how it felt. Are you there?
Yeah, we went out when we went out there. And also, one thing you don't know is when I was working with a friend of ours there, it was not too far from your location. There was one of those floating around in your area of New York too, for a short period of time. It was a smaller version of the Shasta one, and it was like I ran into that, and several galactics had to. Okay, I guess there we go. I guess I didn't want to talk about that, but several galactics had to tackle it and get rid of it. But it was about maybe a third of the size of the one at Shasta.
Okay, so this is just one of those etheric spiders that I've encountered in my apartment here multiple times, as well as other apartments that I had in my previous spaces. So they do exist. They spy, harvest energy, as well as they implant thought forms and memories, false memories. So this is a very interesting illustration because during my time when I first volunteered to come into the illusion, I allowed myself to be subjugated to various tortures, which was exciting for me in the beginning. But after you experience it, it's a different story. So I was inserted multiple times. I couldn't, like the Toraph couldn't come to our plane of existence, the illusion, from their vibration, because I have to be a vibrational match to match the 3D matrix paradigm. So I had to gradually lower my vibration, and I was inserted multiple times. So they put me in this chamber to dampen my energy as well as extract my energy and try to make clones and copies of me in the multiverse. So these beings here were a combination of avian, Anunnaki, Orion, and insectoid. So this little kind of cocoon thing is how they did it. And then, yeah.
Orion insectoid types. Yeah, I've
There's
seen.
a lot of trauma with this.
Yeah.
So this illustration I did back in 2014 for a school project. I was learning 3ds Max as a computer graphics software, and these triangle spacecraft, come to find out from Ilornish, the Feline Guide, that these are actually the Lyran crafts. However, they're very similar to the Taigetan Palladians and other Palladians and other ETs, as well as I just found out through the Cosmic Agency, another YouTube. So according to that, the military-industrial complex also has similar triangle shaped ships that they are utilizing. It does not look like this, but it's very similar in terms of its composition and makeup. So this depicts the Lyran ships flying over Mars. And that's it for the presentation.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's fantastic. Despite the choppiness, it'll be easily put together at the end. But yeah, that's fantastic, Moses. Yeah, I can see.
You got any questions?
Huh? Oh, he froze again.
He's wanting to know if we have questions.
Yeah, well, we can, because I know I wanted him to do the channel today. So yeah,
Well, I'll ask a question when he gets back.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, we're back. This is the most annoyingest thing I ever had to do.
Oh yeah,
Can you
I
guys
know.
hear me?
Yeah, so Moses, so when you were doing these pictures, because you mentioned how some of them that you were just kind of doodling, your mind was kind of free and you were doodling, or you were in class and you were learning. And so my question is, the pictures came first and then the realization of what they were really about came later. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true because I didn't find out the intel or disclose. Okay, so to answer Joanna's question, yes, the realizations came later around 2 years ago. However, during my earlier times of class, on a train, or living life, I would draw these entities and beings on my spare time, not knowing what they were. I thought they were cool. Most of the time, when I do these types of drawings, I have no idea what I'm drawing. There's no reference. I'm just literally psychically drawing it, like psychic writing, so psychic drawing.
Okay.
And I think that happens a lot to people. They're doodling and they just think they're doing something and not realizing yet that it's relevant to a whole nother story.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. There we go. Wow.
Okay.
Wow, this is really trying the patience.
So I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm having a good time. I don't know about you guys, but
No, I honestly,
this
is going to be, I think that people are really going to enjoy seeing this. It'll take Chris a little bit of editing, but it's okay.
It'll be fine. Yeah, it's fine. Wow.
You want me to channel Toraph?
Yeah, go ahead, but you have it on your recording. You can always send it.
Well,
I can edit that in. Yeah,
you can edit it in.
Yeah, I can edit that in. Yeah. You send me the little video recording. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, so don't break a channel. Just channel, and if
just keep going.
Wait to the end if you get cut off.
Okay.
So I'm gonna bring her phone in. Question, whatever you want to know, okay?
Okay.
I'm just gonna call on the guides, the Toraphs, the ancient Mayans, and the feline being known as the Lornish, and all the fairies to monitor, safeguard this transmission in channeled space. We ask true benevolent source to monitor and protect the sovereign space and this vehicle known as Toraph Moses. Clear out all of the shit that is interrupting this session. Thank you. Toraph, please come forward. Okay. She says, hello, Christopher and Joanna. This being known as Toraph Moses is most excited with conversing with the two of you. He was trying to tell you earlier that you guys, your channel has inspired him, and he has learned many things about the unseen realm. What he shared with you was just snippets, minute intel. He has vast knowledge. We have vast knowledge and experiences that we would like to share. Your people, the Homo sapiens sapiens. At this time, during these great times of transition, this vehicle, Toraph Moses, is struggling. He's struggling with his polarized aspects of himself, that he's beginning to understand that the two halves of light and dark, good and evil, are one and the same. He's learning this as a concept, as an idea, that good and evil are just that, an idea, a concept. And he's learning that through these experiences of his multiple lifetimes, experiencing both polarities, has elevated and expanded his conscious awareness to where it is in the now moment. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
Joanna?
No, I'm just really curious about, not only his journey. I do appreciate the conversation about how, darkness and light are, basically one and the same of the same coin. and the fact of we came here to understand the totality of it all. And so we're going to experience it all. We want to experience it all. So I just was hoping that if you wouldn't mind expanding that conversation for the audience to help them not be afraid of even accepting the fact that they've experienced what we would refer to as the dark side of our darkness for many, many, many previous lifetimes.
Yes, I understand your query. I will do my best to bring it to a layman's terms. If you look at a situation, and I'm going to use Toraph Moses as a model. When he was molested during his younger years, his grandfather was an instrument, although maybe he did not know consciously, was aware of his action, or maybe he was, or maybe he was manipulated psychically or etherically or otherwise. Yet he did prey on this innocent boy, but from a more expanded point of view. Maybe the two beings, prior to coming into this plane of existence that known as the illusion, had made arrangements to experience these types of traumas, one being the aggressor and the other a perceived victim. Did they have anything to learn or gain? From a human point of view, yes. From a galactic point of view, maybe, maybe not. But you see, this paradigm that we call the 3D matrix illusion, it's an illusion because it's not real. Yes, our physical bodies are real. Yes, our emotions and our sensations in terms of our 5 senses are real. We feel things, we touch things, and things that harm us and hurt us, it does impact us psychologically, mentally, and yes, spiritually. What happened to that young boy of 5 years old did impact him on a physical, mental, metaphysical level. And his hurt and pain that he went through during those innocent times energetically impacts the rest of sentient life and creation. Surpassing this perceived matrix bubble and sharing this sensation and experience of pain and trauma to the rest of sentient life out there in the cosmos. And as the other entities beyond this perception reality known as the 3D matrix was able to feel and gain some type of awareness, an idea of how it felt to be molested, they too can feel it. Although there's arguments that this perceived 3D matrix is a containment where all manifestations are contained and all experiences and all emotions and all energies are contained in it. That is true and not true. Because energy cannot be trapped. Energy cannot be jailed or held in any device. It is something beyond human comprehension. It moves and ebbs and flows, reaching all the way to source. So this construct that was placed, this 3D matrix, although I have mentioned it's not real and an illusion, it is real, and real as this solid laptop. And to bring it all together, what I'm trying to convey to your audience and the rest of the collective, that good and evil is the same because it comes from one source. The shadowy half of all sentient life, including this perceived true benevolent source. Although, contrary to popular belief, the source does not have a classification. It does not have a category. It cannot be labeled. It is everything and nothing. It is a physical being, and it's also energy. It is neither an idea or a concept, but it is also something that you could hug and hold. True benevolent source is not malevolent or benevolent. It is both. It is the epiphany of balance, oneness. And in order for it to experience an array of emotions and sensations, it made copies of itself. Trillions and trillions upon trillions of copies. And these copies are creation itself. From the glass that you walk past, or the tree, or the bird that flies, or the bee that pollinates a flower, or the book that you open, or the television that you're linked onto. Everything is source. The intangible, the tangible, the unseen, the seen. And it all has polarized energies, polarized experiences, sensations, and emotions. And it teaches you polarized ideologies and concepts, as well as falsehoods, etc. This may sound convoluted, but in order to comprehend what I'm saying, let go of limited thinking, expand your mind, and maybe you will be able to understand that there is no separation. We are all one and the same.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Did you have anything else for me?
No, go ahead.
Were you able to get that?
Yeah, yeah, I was able to get that. Yeah, I was able to get that. Yeah. There were some hiccups in there, so I'll use your recording for that. But,
Very
very
little.
few,
Very
little,
little.
very little. But
Actually, in all honesty, if the message all came through, I would not even edit it in. I would let it
yeah,
just play as he did it.
yeah, yeah. That was good. Yeah. Yeah, that came out very, very, very good. He was, that part of you was making a great effort to hold the energies together too. So the transmission together. So, what I was doing, if you could see my hands, to the viewers, I was taking my crystal and this orb here, and I was doing this, and I was trying to basically act like it was a joystick, trying to manipulate the energy so they didn't break up like that. So that's what I was doing the whole time we've been talking, to try to prevent it from chopping. So it's difficult. It's like trying to drive a car with your knees, but I was like I was trying to keep it stable.
Yeah, I think what's happening is like, depending on the discussion, like right now I did a channeling, there was really no interruptions, but when I disclose certain intel,
Yeah.
that's when the attacks start. you know? So certain things, like certain words that I would use, phrases, that triggered the censoring to stop the recording.
Yeah, that's how it was. Isaac warned me on this end that when you hit certain intel, it pings them. It pings them to create an interruption. So it's like, so he warned me to just limit my time within certain information and back away from it. So it was like, I have like a short period of time before they catch on, and it's like, go through it and then stop, then go through it and then stop. So yeah, that's how I've been had to do it on this end. But yeah, that's been a very great show, and yeah, it'll be easy to put together for the audience here. Yeah, there's been a lot of interruptions, but like you said, when we were hitting on certain information, that's when they cracked the hammer down. So that it's been really great. And I think, do you have any other questions for him, or do you want to?
No, or if you just want to let him say any last words, and then probably end with a we always try to end the show with some sort of affirmation or prayer or blessing.
Okay, yeah. If you have anything else to add, Moses, then if you want to cap it off with an affirmation and blessing.
Yeah, I'll have Toraph Akatash will like to just say a closing thought.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
She says, "Dear humans, as you navigate and transverse during these great times of transition, I urge all of you to be inspired by today's presentation. Not necessarily to do anything or to obtain to be someone or something of a metaphysical or supernatural being. No. What I'm trying to get at is you in this current now moment. Although what we all are experiencing can be different in terms of what we feed our hearts and minds and our bodies. What I try to teach this vehicle known as Toraph Moses is not a matter of him trying to obtain and achieve a certain level in his spiritual evolution. The more focused he should be is how he's maneuvering, transversing, navigating through them. What is he learning through all of what he's trying to learn? And what is he trying to discern and piece together and analyze all data, all polarized data that comes from his guides as well as the external world that he lives in. You see, the journey of this perceived awakening is an individual voluntary process. A process where one looks inward, faces their shadow, and letting that shadow know it no longer needs to be hurt. It no longer needs to be in pain. It no longer needs to suffer. It no longer needs to feel like it's trapped, imprisoned, subjugated, censored. You see, this body that we all have, it's just a tool for us to experience whatever it is you need to experience. I am Toraph Moses. Thank you for listening to the sound of my voice. End of channel.
Ooh, yeah, that was good. Yeah, you can feel it as you're doing it. You can feel that definitely come through. You can feel the energy coming through fairly strongly. So yeah, you're definitely tapping into. I can honestly say for the viewers that yeah, Moses here knows exactly what he's doing. So if you also want sessions from him as well, he's open to doing that as well. I personally, I know Joanna and I personally endorse him because he's fairly strong in this area. So yeah, I believe this is a good place to take it out. So do you have anything else to add, Joanna?
No, I think it's been a very interesting
Yeah.
show. I hope it inspires people again. You know how I feel about the galactics and galactic history
Yeah.
and the understanding of our experience. So I really appreciate having Moses on with his talents and his drawings to, you know, open people up a little more. Not to, again, this isn't about obsessing about maybe who you've been, but to understand just the concept that you are so much more than you could ever imagine, and to just, you know, basically see yourself more in that way. And you are here for a reason, for an experience that you wanted.
Mhm.
So it's an empowerment, you know, discussion. I think it happens a lot, as we were saying before, Moses, that people have these thoughts that come into their mind, or these doodlings or drawing. A lot of people doodle and draw and don't realize there's a relationship to something. Not that it matters if they ever figure it out, but again, that we're way more than we could ever imagine. And we're all, you know, in it together right now, experiencing these times. So, you know, Moses, it's really been a wonderful pleasure for us. I've been, you know, the drawings that you did, the stories that you were able to tell, you know, with your experiences, I really hope it really inspires others to, you know, just go with the thoughts and not worry about what anyone else thinks, that it's your journey and it's okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. So yeah. Thank you, everyone, for watching this extremely wonderful lifting episode. I hope everybody got something out of this like we did and had fun with this exactly like we did, despite all the hiccups. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.